without further ado, I'd love to hop into what I think many of you came for today, and that really is the learning session, where we are going to all learn some new skills and hear some stories and experiences that will support all of our own green jobs journeys. So with that, I would like to turn it over to my colleague, Octavio Lara, who's PLT Canada's Manager of Diversity, Accessibility, and Mentorship, who will introduce our learning session presenter for today. So with that, Octavio, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Paul. And thank you everyone for joining us today in the learning session, which is dedicated to learn more about how we can support newcomer youth. Today we have a special guest. So I just want to present our special guest. His name is Nsiah, and he is originally from Ghana. He has a bachelor's degree in forestry from that country, and he has a master's degree in forestry from the Lakehead University. And he currently works for the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry as a Regional Resource Analyst. And he is based in the Regional Operations Divisions within Timmins, Ontario. We are happy to have him here. He will share grounded for knowledge and experience that through his journey working in the green job sector. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Sam. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you very much, Laura, for your great, introduction. Yeah, my name is Sam Nsiah. So like Laura said, I'm from Ghana, but I've been in Canada. Like I'm also a newcomer. So I did my undergraduate back home in natural resource management. My area of focus is in forestry. And then when I came to Canada, yeah, I have to do another schooling because my bachelor's wasn't enough to get me the job I want. So I went to Lakehead University and I did the Masters of Science in Forestry. And currently I'm working for Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources. I'm one of the Regional Resource Analysts. So thank you very much. So basically my presentation is more of experience, my experience from where I came from and where I am right now. And I want to share my lessons through the journey to the youth here. And if there's any other questions, after my presentation, we can discuss that. So I'll share my presentation right now. Let me see if I can share my screen. So like I said, green jobs are for everyone, and it's true. Green jobs are for everyone. It doesn't matter where you're from. The only thing you have to have is the passion and interest and the required skills to get you the job. So my slide is basically, like I said, talking about my experience from where I came from and where I am right now and share some of my experiences. So this picture basically is to depict my journey. I love forest. Green job is varied and wide, from water resources, from forestry environment, even you can talk about green jobs like solar in it, but my passion was within the vegetation, the forestry. So this picture is depicting me walking through the woods, and it's kind of my journey from where I came from to my current. So then I'll talk about, who am I? So I'll talk basically about my background. In Ghana, I'm highly involved in forestry. Like I said, I have a bachelor's degree in forestry, and I'm involved in the forest research. So the picture shows you my activities. Here is basically like a forest science researchers, which I'm actively involved. If you come to the forest operation, like the wood processing, here I'm involved. I was even leading like a student tour in Ghana in a wood processing factory. Here is a university. Sometimes I'm involved in a teaching and learning in forestry. And I'm also involved in a research. So this is a tree and also leading like a tour in Ghana. So I'm highly involved in the forest management, the forest industry, the research, and the community development in the green area of forestry. And then I came to Canada. So I carry my passion and my interest to come to Canada. And I thought with my skill and with the medication, I should also pursue my interest in the forestry. If you come to Canada, depending on which category you come, you're a newcomer or landed immigrant. So I have this aspiration and have this interest to work in the forest sector. So I see this kind of opportunity. Canada is so big in terms of line size. Canada is so big in terms of forest research, in terms of forest operation, in the green jobs. So my passion is to integrate and work in the job sector. But that opportunity or the hopes I have has also a lot of challenges. So as an immigrant, you come on aspiration, you see there's a goal, there's a light at the tunnel, but to get there, you have to go through the challenges. And that is the journey I have to go. And for me, when I realized I need to work in the forest sector, my education in Ghana, it wasn't enough because there's a legislation in Ontario to work in a forestry, you need to become registered professional forester, which also needs that your academic qualification back in the home needs to be translated, what is equivalent to the Canadian standard. And after going through that, you need to require mentorship. And if after mentorship, that's not enough, you need networking for the job and you need to understand the local environment. So the key point you have to understand as immigrant, understand the local system and the requirements that can propel you into the dream job or the interest that you want. And to go through that, and if some of you have done a curriculum assessment, you need to translate your academic transcript into the Canadian equivalency. Sometimes it's not that easy, and this could be like a detriment to you. You may have the interest to get a job, but then it's like, oh, you need education to be translated to Canadian equivalency. And it becomes a challenge because even to get access to the information back your country is very difficult. But still, don't give hope. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. So diversity in the forest sector. When look at this, when I wanted to become the registered professional forester, I met few people in the forest sector, and they invited me actually to a conference in North Bay. I remember 2015. So I was like, oh, that's interesting to go and meet my fellow foresters over there. So I went, and this is what I saw. Yeah, actually, I was even late at the conference. I entered the room, and all I see is like white male sitting down there. And I felt like I'm so alienated. I don't belong here. It's like, what is going on? There's nobody like my color. There's nobody. I don't even see anybody apart from, full room packed with white Canadians in the first sector. And that is very disheartening and also discouraging. And if you're not careful, that your interim job will not happen. And I term this as what politically incorrect, because why? We know forest has a lot of diversity. The forest itself is made up of composition of species. Even the soil itself has diversity of nutrient or microorganism. So the profession has to also reflect diversity of the people. And the question is, what is that so? And I just look at the statistics in the forest sector workforce in Canada. This is just to show you what is going on in the green sector relatively to the forest sector, where I am so interested in. So it says Canada forest sector directly employ about 200,000 people. Immigrants are underrepresented, women underrepresented, indigenous people underrepresented, and even visible minority are underrepresented. But there's a challenge. The workforce is also aging, and there's lack of interest of the youth going into the green jobs. And my question was like, how many even newcomers and visible minority do you see in a green job? Even, for example, people that are working around you, wherever you go, how many people or newcomers do you see? Or even like visible minorities or newcomers do you see in a workplace? If there's a lack of information or lack of data to tell us. And my observation, why is this so? Like I said, my interest in the forest sector is widely dominated by the white Canadians, and that is a tradition. You can change that. And what I observed that is when I went to the OPFA, Ontario Forest Professional Forest Association annual general meeting, it's hardly to find anybody apart from white Canadians. And more so, I realized that newcomers lack a lot of information. Myself, you lack the information, you lack the job skills, you don't even know the job market, like where to even to find job, what even job even exists, even whom to even to talk to that I'm interested in, let's say tree planting, or I'm into the forest renewal or silviculture. That kind of information doesn't exist if you're a newcomer, and it's very, very, very challenging. And also I find within the sector, Yeah, there's a, genuine non-inclusivity. There's a lack of trust for acceptance, because some people may feel like, oh, you didn't even have your undergraduate here, so you don't understand the forest sector well. So how do you come in if you don't have the understanding? So that's all play a role. First, I said, there's lack of information, there's lack of inclusivity, and also it's dominated traditionally by the Canadians. But it doesn't matter where you're from, where you are, the interests and the challenges we face in the green sector or the environment is the same. People need a decent job. You want to have good income. You want to have economic opportunity. It doesn't matter whether you're from Ghana, Timbuktu, Canada. It doesn't even matter where you are, whether you are native, you're First Nation or Métis, or like you're African or you're visible minority. We have a common goal. We want a spiritual well-being from the forest. We want the forest that can protect the values, whether it's a wildlife value or even like a spirituality that we want from it. And even if you look at everywhere, read about countries, we talk about climate change, it affects everybody. In the bottom line, we all want sustainable forests for our own use and economic activity. And even the common challenges are the same. If you read news in Indonesia, Brazil, there's issue about competing resource interests. In Canada here, the forest sector I'm involved in, there's a resource benefit problems between the crown and the indigenous nation. So I'm just trying to say it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, the interest that all we require from the forest are the same, and the challenges are the same. So we can all work together for a common goal, that to provide sustainability of the crown forest. So my presentation, like I said, to share some of my experience. This will be some of my take-home message for today. As a new immigrant or landed immigrant or newcomer, you need to obtain the required skill set. You may be, for example, you may have your degree from your home country, but if you require professionalism designation, like in my case, registered professional forester, you have to go through, you have to take the pain, you have to make your ambition, not just to grow survival and say, okay, because I have my degree, I'm okay, I can get a job. No, if required to take further education, you have to do it and have to do it now. If required skill training, you have to do it now, because that will get you the job, because there's a local understanding of the Canadian system. So as a newcomer, you need to understand the local system and the skill sets you need. So that is the first key. And at that point, I need to make is your networking and volunteer opportunity. You have to get involved with people. For me, when I came to Canada and I was looking like it, because like I said, lack of information. And when I had people say, oh yeah, you need to become registered professional forester. I go through Forest Without Borders. Forest Without Borders is a charity organization. They support tree planting in other countries and Canada. So I try to volunteer the activities for them. And through that, I got to meet a lot of people, because you need, even if you find a job, you need a reference. You need somebody who can speak a word for you. Oh, I know this guy. I know this lady. She's great. She can do the job. So you need to network and volunteer your time for that. And you can do that through many sectors. When I was in Lakehead, I made friends with the professors there, some of my colleague students. I came to University of Toronto. I met quite a few people that are also into forestry. There was this organization called KBM. I made friends. I worked with them. I attended Ontario Professional Forest Association conferences. I have presented at the Canadian Institute of Forest e-lectures, because that is where you need people, because most of the employers are within these associations. So you have to get the right skill set. And after that, you need to require networking and volunteerism. Meet people, talk to them, ask questions, because that will get you the job. Like I said, you need them for references, and you need them to create that opportunity also for you. And one more thing, as a newcomer, you have to be occupationally flexible. By this, I mean, when my first job, I wanted to work and I was going through my designation for professionalism, I got a job interview at Red Lake. And Red Lake, that time, I was living at Perry Sound. And when I Google, it's about 12, 18 hours drive to Red Lake from Perrystown to Red Lake in Ontario. Then I was like, oh, should I take a chance? But I guarantee that is what got me my interest job where I am right now. You have to be occupational flexible. Don't be comfort and live in Toronto or live in Vancouver or live in Ottawa, like the big city. If it matters to go somewhere to start from somewhere, you have to travel. And also, it doesn't matter. It could be like internship position. It could be like a contract. It could even be like entry, because I met people with a PhD degree and they were doing internship. But yes, they do that internship for maybe 6 years, 1 year, and got them their research job they're interested in. So move to remote areas, because like most of the green jobs and where they are lacking opportunity are in the remote areas. So make it ambition to be occupationally flexible. Don't be comfort in your own comfort zone. And also I said, mentorship and career guidance is critical. Even in Ontario here, there's a lack of foresters because they said youth are less interested to go into the forestry profession. And it's because maybe nobody's guiding them when they're choosing the course. But there's a lot of opportunity. So sometimes it's good to talk to people they know. You can share your aspiration or your ideas. And that will also help you as a newcomer to integrate into the system. This slide basically is for employers. I was hoping some of the employers, would be on this call, but at the same time, it goes both hand for newcomers. Once you get your dream job and you become a manager, you have to try and create opportunity for newcomers. Like I said, sometimes there's like a barrier for inclusivity, though the policy would say equal access or equal hiring opportunity, which would be the legislation. But the hiring managers, do they see that opportunity in you? Are they willing to take a chance in you? And that is very critical. So for me, I came to Canada, I have an accent, I have the training, I can do the job. But who will give me that opportunity to do the job? So it needs somebody who can take a chance on me. And when they give me that opportunity, I am excelling in my profession. And also I said, like employers and professionals understand inclusivity. Sometimes we work in a diverse environment, you need to be receptive to each other, not just even tolerant, but acceptance, willingness to cooperate and provide genuine opportunities. And to the employers, if you become a manager, try and become a mentor and career guidance also for other newcomers. So like I said, my slide showed this opportunity for me. I saw like a green light. I have that aspiration to work in the green environment in forest sector. There was the challenges I have to go through, but at the end of the day, I got a job I'm interested in. And now I work as a regional resource analyst. And my role is very important because my role, we deal with forest management planning and the implementation, which means I am responsible to make sure there's a continuous wood supply to the mill. And just look at that connection. Provide job for people, provide economic opportunity for people. Like I said, the interest for everybody is the same. Now my role ensure the protection for the wildlife values. The caribou could be the caribou, the moose, the bird nest, the turtles, the water resources. And also I'm involved in training other community members and the public, the importance of the forestry and how to do forest management planning for sustainability of the crown forest. So thank you. And this is one of the projects I am involved for the Forest Without Borders. Like I said, I volunteer. Sometimes my time I travel back home and volunteer my time to do other forestry activities for the local people. And through that, I've gotten a lot of networking with other professionals like myself. So yeah, I'll end here and thank everybody. If you have any question, I'm ready to assist and answer as much as possible I can. Thank you very much, Lara.
Thank you, Samuel, for the presentation. I think it has been very informative. And of course, I will just highlight that the comments that you made regarding like the networking piece, trying to probably assess your education, as well as doing some volunteer, that will help newcomers to get a foot on their job. I know that it's very important, especially have that Canadian experience that can give you some experience so that you can land in your green job. But I have a question for one of the youth. And well, first of all, they want to see if they can add you on LinkedIn. I hope maybe you can share your LinkedIn profile on the chat. But there is someone who's asking like, how does it feel to work in the rural areas, particularly coming from like an immigrant background and not having a lot of probably support or connections within the rural sector in Canada?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's very interesting. And sometimes, especially if you came here and your network is within the cities, right? Even just travel out of the city, maybe Toronto or Ottawa, going to even North Bay, if you're in Ontario, you see that's a challenge because you think it's more rural. But I tell you, people are very supportive, especially if you're working in these small villages or small towns. You find closeness. People are tied to help you and support you. So that fear, you have to let it go. You have to let it go because once you stay your comfort zone, you may be sitting on your opportunities. Because like most even employers want to see your resilience and your willingness to work in a diverse environment. So when they see that, I traveled to Red Lake, I got a lot of call for interviews, and then I end up where I am interested. So it's fun. Once you get in there, your role is to work and make good living and to support the job you are doing. So that should be your goal. And once you make up that your goal, you can integrate so well. And you know, one thing you have to understand is that you've come to Canada because you see the goodness in Canada and you want to integrate. So bring that opportunity, bring that realization in you, and also be willing to integrate with other people. Don't be afraid to ask questions from anybody at all. People are also like-minded. We all have common interests and common goal. And once you make that opportunity and approach, you see that benefit come back to you. So yeah, take that chance and then move out.
Great. That's actually a great comment, because some youth sometimes have to go outside of the cities to find that opportunity, and then maybe they can come back into the big city. We have another question from one of our participants here, and they want to know, what do you do in your current like volunteer position? And do you know if this organization that you're volunteering for, like Forest Without Borders, have any opportunities for youth to participate?
That's great. Yeah, so Forest Without Borders is kind of within Canadian Institute of Forestry. So the Canadian Institute of Forestry, most of you would know. So within that, there's a Forest Without Borders, and the Forest Without Borders role is to do like a charity work from people interested in the green job. So what we do sometimes support rural communities to solve some of their critical challenge. So currently what I'm doing in Ghana, there's issues about wood energy. People, clear cut the wood and used to burn to provide, cooking, and which is a major cause of deforestation. So I am volunteering in the villages to help them do like plantation where they can convert into charcoal or wood energy instead of cutting, from the wild. So there's a opportunity within the forest without borders, and if the interest to engage the youth, if it's you're in school and if you want to do, you can do like a newsletter. If you want to volunteer your time, you can even like, okay, website. They want even people to do their website to post information there. So anybody who's interested, some kind of volunteer opportunity, you can reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with people that are involved in other green sectors. They want volunteers.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, probably I will. Yeah, people can connect with you on LinkedIn, maybe to ask you about those volunteer opportunities, or if you share that with me, I will share it with the attendees. So that would be great. Also, we have another question, say that if you can share within your experience when you arrived to Canada, how do you connect with forestry information or conservation, with the conservation sector or the forestry sector? How was that? Did you have a mentor, or did you how did you find that information? Because we know that youth, especially immigrant youth, they want to learn about these opportunities, but sometimes it's difficult to find those. So if you can share maybe how was that experience when you arrived? What strategies did you take in place in order to find that information and connect with the forestry organizations?
Yeah, which is very interesting. And I find it as one of the challenges for the newcomers, because even when I came to Canada, I came to Ontario, and I've been in many, many different places. Sometimes it's true. You may have skill in, let's say, you're an engineer or you're a forester, you're a biologist, but even where do you have to find a job? Even whom do you have to contact? Who even do you have to talk to? It's critical challenge. So I work from factories, Walmarts, and then, like I said, I was in Pembroke, if you're going to Ottawa, and then there was this group that came over. There was a Petawawa Research Forest. So there was a student coming through tour from University of Toronto, and I talked to one of their instructors. So when he read, because they were foresters, and I talked to them, it's like, oh, I am also Sam from Ghana, I have this background. Then right away, it's like, oh, you need your registered professional designation. So sometimes it has to be with somebody that will lead you, create that opportunity for you. So that's why I said it's very critical to network and volunteer with people, because that is where you get opportunity. Even to hear about a job is through that networking. You can go to websites, you can find a job, sometimes you apply, but because you don't have the skill set, you may have PhD degree in, let's say, natural resource management, and you apply to work in private wood company or government, and they need designation like a registered professional forester. Your PhD doesn't get you the job. But how do you know you need registered professional forester designation? You don't know. So somebody needs to talk to you like that. So that's why it's critical to link with the people that you can get that shared information. And I will give one typical example. Even the government, there's a website, government website, genuinely. Even Ontario, there's what we call Ontario Heritage Trust Fund. And the idea is to help newcomers to integrate. If you have, let's say, degree and you want some designation, like for me, I have forestry, I want to become registered professional forester. You need a job experience. And how do you get a job experience? You work in a company and they can mentor you. So there's a government program to mentor people. Then I saw that through one of my search about how do I integrate. And if you find organization, the government is willing to pay 80% of the salary, and the company will pay 20%, depending if it's a profit organization or non-profit organization. Even if it's like a non-profit organization, the government pays 90%, Ontario government pays 90%. So I was in a Perry Sound, and there was a small company there, they're into forest planning and silviculture. I went there, like, oh, this is me. That time, even I was in University of Toronto, because when I finished my undergraduate and I wasn't going to just like, let me do more schooling. So person, I went to the organizations like, okay, I found this funding opportunity that government will pay 80% and you just top up 20% and you provide me mentorship. But you could see, because I'm not from there, and person is a small area, the lack of inclusivity I was talking about, the person didn't even know that that program exists. I gave him all the necessary contacts, because even I called and they told me I qualified. But when I went to him and I showed him, he was like, oh, okay, let me find out. He found out and said, oh yeah, he qualifies. But yet still, this person didn't give you that mentorship opportunity because he doesn't know me. He doesn't know me. So there's a lack of trust. Like, who are you? But then this same person, I review their work because I work from government, and I review their work. And now he's my good friend. You see, so sometimes you need that networking and the mentor from somebody before people accept you. So that is why, if you're a newcomer, don't be shy. Approach people through LinkedIn, Facebook, emails, introduce yourself, ask for maybe coffee discussion, and then once you get opportunity, they get to know you, they speak about you, how you are to other people. And if your name goes to somebody, say, oh yes, I know this person already. And that really helps to get connection and also find the job you're looking for.
Great. Thank you, Samuel. I think what you just highlighted is really, really important. And just this is something similar where you were talking about the program, the funding program. So we have a similar program within PLT Canada that also supports 50% weight match to companies that hire newcomer youth or youth in general. But this is, I think these are great opportunities, and so how can youth can get their foot into the door and get some job opportunities and experience within the forestry sector. So I'm going to see if there is any other questions, but in the chat, maybe someone wants to put one last question, because we have around 6 minutes to finish the presentation. Actually, there is one question here. They said that if it was difficult to find housing within in the rural sector, and if the company helped you to find accommodation.
Oh yes, once you get interview, it's about 80% chance you get a job if you perform in the interview. And once the company wants to see your resume and you're good and your skill set matches, they are willing, even the private sector, first sector, are willing to give you like housing allowance, if you like rural allowances, and then they will find you a place, then you pay like a rent like anybody at all. But they are willing to make sure you're accommodated in everywhere you go, feel comfortable and safe, and have people around you. So really, like I've met a lot of people in Toronto, and they have the qualification, they have the interest, but it's so difficult to move away from the big cities. But I said, the more you stay in a big city, eventually you find yourself working in remote. So why don't you start from there and come back to the city? Because the experience counts a lot, in Canada. The more you get experience and you get the skills, that's where you get good opportunity in other places. So you have to start now. And don't be scared about, oh, I live in maybe Vancouver. How can I go to Williams Lake? You go there, you find experience, and you can even come back to Vancouver to get a dream job you want. You have to start from somewhere. That's the key point I want to make.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And I think we're just gonna say the last question here. There is someone asking if you find it difficult to not have Canadian education when you were looking for a job. Did you translate it? Sorry, did you revalidate your credentials? And also, as well as, or do you find it difficult and maybe you wanted to find, to have Canadian to have Canadian education? Yeah. So someone is asking, basically, from what I read, is just if you find it difficult to get into the job without having Canadian education, and that's why you had a master's in within the Canadian institution.
Yeah, so I would say yes and no, because what I realized later on is like you need a skill set, and the first prerequisite is to have, let's say, your diploma or your degree. But then some of the job are professional. It's like you cannot work as a doctor if you're not registered medical profession. You cannot work as a nurse if you're not a registered nurse. In the same way, you cannot work as, let's say, a forester if you're not a registered professional forester. So you may not necessarily have to do a top-up school if you have, let's say, your degree from your country. But what you might have to do, look for opportunity you can translate and get that professional designation. And sometimes once you get that designation, that is your card to get you the job. And by doing that, you can do translation. And the challenge to do the translation is that sometimes you need a transcript from your home country. You need them to translate. If it's not English, they need to translate to English. And even to get them become difficult. So it's easier if you do a little bit top off here to make it equivalency. So instead of maybe get all your credentials from your home country and translating it, if it's going to cost money, can I take some courses, bridge program in Canada that will provide me the necessary credentials to get my designation I want. And once you're able to do that, yes, you bridge the gap and you translate your training back your country into the Canadian equivalent. And that is also very helpful. Other than that, if you also want to go to formal school, maybe you did biology, you want to work in forestry, they need to go back to school and get some of the courses that will make you get a job in forestry.
Great. I think that is important to know. I'm just be curious, how long did it took that process of like revalidation your credentials?
It depends how fast you could. Something, the process is straightforward. If let's say the board or the credential assessment committee meets and you have all your information, it's quick process. So now the responsibility is on you, the applicant, to get that your information. So how fast you can get order from your home country is the best. And sometimes I can understand that it's a challenge to get that as soon as possible. But it's all up to you how fast you can. But once you get it, doesn't take long. Between probably like 6 months, you become your designated professional forester.
Great.
And for people that are interested in the forestry, you need to get your designation before. Other than that, forget about your qualification. You're not going to get any job as a professional forester.
Okay. Well, this is really good to know. And thank you, Sam, again for presenting and providing this useful information. I'm sure that the youth will take this into account, particularly knowing about the networking, as well as a volunteer opportunity, maybe an internship in the funding programs, so that they can utilize that, so that they can have a green job in the future, and maybe they can have some Canadian experience. So thank you very much again, and for your presentation, and hopefully we will see again, and so hopefully also the youth can connect with you through social media. And just a reminder for the participants, please check out our mentorship program and the Green Jobs program for more opportunities. Thank you, everyone, and I'm just gonna pass it over to my colleague Paul Robital.
Wonderful. So I'm just sharing my screen again here. I really just wanted to thank you, Sam, for that really fantastic presentation. It's funny, I was madly looking around my office here, and maybe over the break I'll run around the house because I can't seem to find my silver ring this morning from the CIF. And yeah, I do believe we actually had met briefly several years ago up in Thunder Bay. I was on the CIF Northwestern Ontario section there with the folks at Lakehead, and yeah, you'd come in and spoken about your work with Forests Without Borders. So great seeing you. And yeah, it's always we were having a chat while you were speaking there, just with fellow CIF members. So that's yeah, you're in good company, and certainly I'd encourage everybody to check out that great opportunity. Lots of chili cook-offs and movie nights, and all sorts of other great ways to meet others who have a similar passion for forestry, biology, the outdoors, and really green career pathways. So thank you again.
Growing future forest and conservation leaders.